Welcome to the Black Spruce Knitting Podcast. My name is Allie. I live in Vermont in the United States on Abenaki land. And I live here with my partner Chris and our dog Darwin. And soon in February, we will be joined by a new family member. I'm currently pregnant and in my third trimester. So we will be welcoming a baby soon. Yeah, and I'm just really excited to be here with you today because I have tons of things to show you. I don't know if it's nesting energy or if it's because I can't really do very much else this winter, both because I don't want to fall doing downhill skiing or something, but also because here in Vermont, our snow has mostly melted. But I've had a lot of crafting energy and time. And so I have just been making tons of things and I'm really excited to share them. I have 2 finished objects that are from old whips. I have 2 new whips. I have some spinning and I have some cross stitching, and I've never shared cross stitching on this channel before. I haven't done very much in my adult life. I learned when I was really young, but I'm excited to show you what I'm working on. I don't have any acquisitions because everything I've bought is in the projects, and I don't have that much life stuff to share. I'll probably be sharing as I'm kind of talking about these projects. So this will be a full episode of just talking about a lot of crafts. And it might be long, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm just gonna sort of talk and see how it goes. So yeah, hopefully you have something fun to work on, and I think I'm going to jump in. So my first finished object is from this book by Emily Foden, and it's about winter, which is also where I found the pattern for what I'm wearing today, which is the Soiree sweater. And I've shared this before, so I won't talk too much about it. But this is a wonderful book. It's published by Pom Pom Press, so I think that if you want it, you should probably look for it now, because I don't think that they're going to be selling paper books for very much longer. But it is an incredible book. There are so many things that I want to make. I want to make almost everything in this book, and so this will be my second finished object from it. And I actually have plans to make more. I did a knit along with this book last year, and the winner actually graciously sent me some yarn from Emily Foden's yarn company to make the favorite sock variations. But I finished the Eastwind jacket, which is one of the pieces on the cover. And here it is. It's really big. So I will put some photos of me wearing this too, so you can kind of get an appreciation for the entire garment. But I am so excited to talk about it. I started this, I think, in like February, and I put it down for the summer because it's really big and heavy and it was just too hot to work on. Plus I was dealing with some back issues and early pregnancy. But recently I picked it up and I was like, I just want to finish this because I'm so close. And so I did. I didn't need to do too much to finish it. But I'll tell you what I've done. I'll share some modifications and I'll share the yarn and my overall feelings about this project. So for the yarn, the kind of base brown yarn is from Junction Fiber Mill, which is a local Vermont mill. They make a lot of really wonderful products, and I had interviewed them if you go back through my channel. But when I interviewed them, I bought a lot of yarn too, and they had their practice yarn from learning the machines that they were selling at a really good price, and I think it was from one of the wool's from one of the owner's flocks, and it's undyed, I believe, and it was like $10 for a skein of, I would call it probably DK worsted weight yarn locally grown in Vermont. So I bought a ton of it and that's what I used, and I don't have very much left. I can show you. I have about this much left. So I was definitely cutting it a little close. But I had enough to finish the project with all that I needed. And I have a little bit left over in case I ever need to make repairs. And I also used this lighter brown yarn, which is also undyed and also from Vermont. It's Petersholm Farms Shetland DK, and I doubled it up because it's a lighter weight. I have this plus a whole skein of this, so the other skein will probably go towards another project. And then I also used a non-Vermont mohair, which I have this plus a whole nother skein of this as well. This is Biches, Le Petit mohair, and I think it's the colorway dark brown. So this piece is like very much in large part local to me wool, which makes it extra special and hopefully extra hardy and also very warm. And when I originally knit up this wool, it was kind of stiff, but it blocked out to this like beautiful, this like incredible fabric with a lot of drape and softness. It's definitely heavy though. This is like a real jacket. But so I had basically knit everything. And so all I needed to do to finish it recently was I finished seaming. I picked up and knit the collar, and I'll talk a little bit more about the collar. Picked up and knit the button bands and added these toggles and knit the cuffs and finished the pockets as well because they needed these pocket liners. So it just was a lot of finishing that I've been kind of chipping away at. But now I have this piece that I'm really happy with. I will say there's something about the projects in Knit About Winter that they feel so cozy, and I think part of that is that a lot of them have this like kind of boxy silhouette, which is also nice because I can wear them while I'm pregnant and also while I'm not pregnant. But that's one of the reasons I also wanted to finish this, is that I knew it would still fit me. It's quite oversized. I didn't get gauge, and more frequently these days I've been kind of mathing out when I don't get gauge. I knit size 1, but I think I got closer to a size 2, probably because this yarn is really heavy, and I tend to knit loosely. But this pattern, it might be a little hard to see. Can you kind of see? It's got these little mini cables all over it for just this like beautiful texture, and then it's got some bigger cables on the front and the back. It has these exposed seams, it has pockets, and it just is really warm. Like, I think I could really use this as like a winter jacket, even though it's a knit piece, which is really exciting, and the fabric is pretty dense. You mattress stitch in reverse to make these exposed seams. So I did make a couple modifications just because I wanted to make sure that this would be quite wearable for me. One is that, let's see, I did make it a little bit longer, and I knitted some extra in between the pockets and where you start adding the sleeves because I wanted the pockets to sit quite low, and I'm happy with the length of it. Another thing that I did is a lot of people had said that the collar can be too wide, and the collar in the original has shaping that kind of comes up and then around. So if you want to make the collar smaller, you'd have to change these, like this is knit in pieces and seamed, you'd have to change the whole piece. But what I did is I eliminated that kind of like upward collar, and I just knit smooth shoulders so that I could seam, try it on, seam, try it on, and figure out exactly how big I wanted the collar to be. And then instead of binding off in this contrast color, I picked up stitches, knit a little bit of garter stitch, and then bound off, which I think has made a collar that I feel really happy with. I contemplated doing a bit of a ribbed collar in Emily Foden's version of this that she has on Ravelry. She actually added a ribbed collar, but I don't quite like that look for this for whatever reason. And I wanted to like really be able to use a scarf or have something coming up under it. So, you know, this definitely would be like something to wear with a shawl. But I'm happy with the width of the collar. And if you make this project, I definitely suggest thinking about the collar. A lot of people just have felt that it's too wide. So that was my second modification. And the last one was pretty simple, which is that on the button bands, they're written to be just stockinette. I added a garter stitch edging, just a few rows of garter stitch plus like I think 3 stitches of garter stitch on the edge, and then I blocked them out so that they would lay more flat. because I didn't want them to pucker. And I did choose to use toggles, not buttons. I was looking for some really special toggles and having trouble finding them. And so what I actually did is I remembered that Kat Weaver from Heather and Hops had knit this, and I went back to her video and basically bought toggles from the person who she had purchased them from, Lilliput White, and I will definitely link her down below. She does these like found driftwood handmade toggles that are just really special, and she didn't have that many up, and I actually contacted her and she was so nice and sent me a ton to look at. Here they are. So I bought 2 sets of toggles, but I chose to use the slightly longer ones, and I'll save these for another project. So these aren't local, they're from like the Isle of Wight, but they're so beautiful. And I attached the toggles and used afterthought button loops, which I made quite tight to sort of reduce the level of like gapping that there might be. I will say when I knit the button bands, one was longer than the other and I really didn't feel like reknitting them. So I blocked them and I got pretty close to them being the same size. Between these 2 buttons, there's like a little bit of extra fabric, but you know, I can live with that. So yeah, I bought these special toggles and finished the project, and I haven't worn it for more than a photo shoot yet. It's actually been kind of warm and I haven't been out of the house that much, honestly, but I'm so excited to wear this. I'm really happy. I'll put some photos back up. I'm really, really happy with this finished result. I think it is rustic. I just think that these 3 yarns together, like they really suit what I like. I like brown. It's just like, it was really fun to knit. It's definitely kind of a marathon project. It took me almost a year to get it finished, but I don't know, it makes me really happy. I could nitpick it more and tell you more things I wish I had changed, but I don't even really want to, because I think I just really like it. So yeah, if you want to read my notes, I'm gonna link Ravelry pages below because I've started using Ravelry more to document what I knit. I know that it's not accessible for everyone. If you ever want information that might be found on Ravelry and you can't access it, leave a comment and I will gladly, as soon as I can, give you any information, including specific yarn colors, notes about modifications that I made. I'm always happy to talk about modifications, and sort of how I figured out what I wanted to make. So yeah, that is my Eastwind jacket. I'm so happy it's done. And now I want to knit everything else from that book, but we'll get there. I've got a lot of projects that I'm planning on casting on and that I've cast on. So yeah. First finished object. Love to rescue a whip that's been sitting in hibernation for a while, and quite pleased with the finished result. Second finished object, not as successful, not as exciting, but I'm gonna talk about it, but probably not for as long. I did finish a pair of socks, and they are a little bit different than socks that I've made before, and I'll tell you a little bit about the process here. The main color is Less Traveled Fiber Forest Floor in, I think, 757 sock. She's not really dyeing anymore, so I won't talk too much about the yarn, but I'll give you a little close-up. It is really pretty. And the other color is, I think, from a Sweet Georgia mini set. Like, they do these Party of 5 mini sets. And I had originally purchased this yarn to do an Anna Johanna shawl knit along, but I ended up using other yarn. So now I've got a couple skeins in my stash that will become socks. And this was another rescued whip. I was kind of looking through my yarn and I had an almost completed sock tube. So it was just the tube with one cuff, and I finished it and then I knit the other cuff on the end. This is an experiment for me to find new ways to knit socks that I enjoy, because I have never done an afterthought heel or a sock tube before, and I don't love it. I will tell you why. I knit most of this on US 2 8-inch needles, because when I use 8-inch needles, my gauge is quite tight. And I actually used US 2 longer needles for the toe and the heel, and I used magic loop. I probably should have gone down to US 1 because the gauge is pretty different, which created some extra fabric. I also don't know that I love the afterthought heel. It fits fine. I don't think that it fits as well as my regular heel, which is a heel flap and gusset. Usually I knit socks top down, heel flap and gusset, and then sometimes 2 at a time, sometimes 1 at a time. But I have a really hard time finishing sock projects, so I'm doing a little research to see what is the most enjoyable way for me to knit socks, because I do like knitting them, and I love wearing hand knit socks, and Chris loves wearing hand knit socks. So I just cut this tube and then picked up stitches, cut into it, did the toes, did the heels. You know, what I like about this method is that all of the fiddly bits are kind of at the end, because sock knitting for me is often like mindless knitting. I like to just do stockinette, which is what I don't like about knitting socks 1 at a time, is that you kind of have to pay attention to make sure they're identical. But I didn't love this. I want to experiment with some other sock constructions. I've knit toe-up socks once, but didn't love those. I think the foot was too long. I think the foot is a little long in these. Maybe Chris will wear them, but you know, they're cozy socks. They're definitely not like the best fitting socks I've made. But I want to experiment with more toe-up socks. I want to try some different heels, including Fish Lips Kiss heel and the Shadow Wrap heel. And I'm really interested in the sock constructions that make socks the easiest and most pleasurable to knit. Yeah, these are fine. I'm glad that they're done. I'm trying really hard to clear out my whips, and this year I want to use up a lot of my stash, as I think everyone does every year, just so that I can be like buying yarn for projects as they come up rather than feeling like I need to knit from stash. So I'll probably finish more socks soon. I really want to cast on some new socks. I have hand spun that's like waiting to become socks, but I'm trying to finish a couple other projects first. So they're done. They might go into my hospital bag for when I give birth, because I thought they might be like cozy and comforting, but I don't know. There's not much else to say. They're fine. Finish object number 2. So those are the 2 whips that I had finished, which is very satisfying to be able to just like, when you have that finishing energy, to just go for it. And now I want to show you 2 new whips that I have added since I have been finishing things. So this is a project that I'm working on for my partner, Chris. This is the Northland sweater by Petite Knit. And I am using this beautiful tweed that is Studio Donegal soft tweed. I believe the color is dark blue. We got this in Ireland on our honeymoon this year, and I didn't even get it from a yarn store. I got it from like, we were in Donegal, where we stayed for a few days while we were kind of exploring County Clare, and there was like a knit, or it was like a Irish craft store that they sold like a lot of Irish handmade goods, including some yarn, and I bought 7 skeins of this. My original intention was to knit like a cabled Aran sweater, but I didn't want to knit a cabled Aran sweater, and I wanted to use the yarn, and I wanted to make Chris a new sweater. And Chris really likes plain sweaters, and the ones that they wear the most that I've made are fairly plain. So we chose this pattern together. Because I bought 7 skeins, I might have some leftover, and if I have leftover, I'm intending to make a matching little sweater for my son so that Chris can match our child when he's born. But that will come a little bit later. But yeah, am doing this kind of basic petite knit pattern. I haven't knit many petite knit patterns. I think I've only knit the one, which was also for the baby. Just because I mean, they're like beautiful silhouettes, but I often want to knit something that has a little bit more interest. Although I like to have one kind of plain project on the go at all times, especially because we often watch television and movies that has subtitles if it's in another language. And I like having plain stockinette so that I can read the subtitles and knit at the same time. You have to watch something in English for me to do more complicated knitting. I, once again, failed to get gauge and kind of mathed it out. I'm knitting the smallest size to make, I think, the second size, but also just having Chris try it on. I don't know, like I'll knit gauge swatches twice, and if it doesn't work, but I like the fabric, these days I'm just kind of like, would rather do the math than keep knitting gauge swatches, and it's been pretty successful. There's not too much to say except that I am knitting the sleeves 2 at a time. There's little Hello Lavender stitch markers, and you can kind of see how beautiful and tweedy this yarn is. I just hate knitting 2 of the same thing in a row, and I always want to knit them 2 at a time. So when I can, I do. When I finished one sleeve, I never want to knit the second sleeve. I'm a real 2 at a time girly. So we're knitting the sleeves, and we'll pick up stitches for the collar. I might actually go in and make the ribbed ending, whatever words. I might make this ribbing a little bit longer, which would be kind of a shame because it is an Italian bind off, which is a little bit time consuming, but I really like trying to get the fit right for Chris's sweaters so that Chris will wear them really often. And I actually have found, I like sometimes have Kitchener stitch memorized and sometimes don't. Right now it's memorized because I did a little bit of Kitchener on the Eastwind for the pockets. I did a lot of Kitchener on the socks for the toes and the heels. So right now Kitchener is in my head, so I don't really mind doing another Italian bind off. It really clicked for me. I don't know what it was. I don't always do one. So I don't mind ripping this out and knitting a little more, but maybe I'll block it first. The 2 sweaters that Chris wears the most, which are the Rock Island line and the Fort, I recently gleaned and washed them, and they stretched a little, which is annoying because they're non-superwash wool. But I think I need to go back into both of them and shorten the sleeves a little bit so that they fit really well. I can be like a little bit more forgiving about fit for myself, but I don't know what it is. It's like if Chris is wearing something hand knit, I'm like, I want the fit to be like really nice. So there might be a little sweater surgery in my future. That might be a thing to do. I'm gonna work until I'm 38 weeks pregnant. So if baby comes late, which is likely, I'll have a little bit of time. And if I'm feeling okay, that might be like one of the things I do while I'm waiting for baby to come. So yeah, I might go back and fix that. But other than that, I think the fit is gonna be pretty good. Right now it's like a little too tight. So I'm hoping that when it blocks out perfectly. This yarn is so beautiful. It really probably should have been a beautiful Aran sweater, but I wanted to use it now. And I have a lot of yarn for more complicated projects, and I think that I just needed to make this. I really like to knit Chris at least like 1 sweater a year. So I also haven't been knitting as many sweaters for myself because my body is so different right now. So like this Soiree fits and the Eastwind fits, but a lot of the sweaters that I kind of like that are a little bit more fitted do not fit over my pregnant belly. And I want to see where my body kind of lands postpartum before starting some of the projects that are a little bit more fitted. So it's the perfect time to knit sweaters for others. I've knit a couple baby sweaters, so other family members are getting them too. So yeah, that is whip number 1. It has gone so quickly. I'm so used to knitting like fingering weight sweaters. This is flying by, and I'm actually taking this week off of work for the holiday. So I would love to finish this soon because I have a couple more cast-ons planned. 2 yarn balls at one time. That's the only annoying thing about knitting things 2 at a time, is that the yarn sometimes gets tangled, but I love being done with one sleeve and then being done with both sleeves. So for me, always worth it. Had to grab some things. Juggling a lot of things right now. So there's a little bit of a story with this project. This year I ordered Shetland Wool Week 2022 because there is a project in this that I want to knit and I have the yarn for, but you can't get the project online. I mean, it's also nice to have things in print, but usually I'll just buy one pattern at a time. But I'm going to knit this at some point. This is the Jemima jumper. It's based on a more vintage pattern and I love it. I just think it's really gorgeous. I have 2 cones of Jamieson and Smith. Sorry that you can see my Band-Aid. One in kind of this like creamy white, like oatmeal-y, off-white, and then this charcoal color. So it'll be like a little bit less contrasty than the original. I'm gonna have to reknit this swatch because I knit this a while ago and don't remember what needle size I used. So this is gonna be a project. I actually would love to knit this in January if I can. I'm not sure if I'm gonna knit something this big and also how much ease I want and my body changing, but this is a project that I have plans for. But when I got this, I was flipping through it and I saw this pattern, which is a dog coat, the Sunbeam dog coat. And I remember thinking, that is so cute, but that's so much work for a jacket for a dog. And once I finished, I don't know if it was when I finished the socks or the Eastwind. I think it was when I finished the Eastwind. I was like, I want to go buy yarn for a new project. I haven't bought yarn in a long time. And my local yarn store, I have a lot of local yarn stores. There's just a lot of yarn here, but they have Jamieson and Smith. And so I knew I could go pick out colors. And I just became overwhelmed with the need to knit a Fair Isle sweater for my dog. One of the benefits is that this is also steeked, and I've never steeked anything before. And the other project has some steeks, but this will be a great practice steeking project since it's much smaller than a human-sized sweater. But I was like, a couple weeks ago, maybe just 2 weeks ago, I was like, Chris, we have to go to the yarn store and pick out yarn for Darwin's sweater. So I'm knitting this Sunbeam dog coat for my dog Darwin, but we picked out our own colors and I will show you what we have. So we went for, oh, you can't even see the navy. I have more of this navy, but we went for orange and blue as like kind of the color scheme, keeping the sort of contrast difference, although mine might even be more contrasty, but keeping like the sort of like 2 different color families, 3 shades of blue, 3 shades of orange. And I have been knitting away on this and this is where I'm at. It looks really small because there's a steek. And so it'll open up and kind of sit over Darwin. I'm almost done with the color work part. I did not swatch for this because I figured, I did some measurements and the measurements that it was written for would fit him, but he also could use a little bit bigger because he's a slightly bigger dog and I know that I knit loose. So I didn't swatch. I did add a color repeat because he's a little bit longer and I wanted it to really go, I wanted it to really like fit his whole body. And this will be Darwin's first piece of knitwear. So I'll finish knitting this. I will steek it, knit some like front flaps so that it will button up and I actually have snaps to put on it, and then knit like an underneath flap as well to help it hold on to him. And he doesn't mind wearing clothing at all, and he loves knitwear. He's always lying on my knitwear. I have so many photos of Darwin lying on a whip, so I think he's really gonna like this. I do hope it fits. I actually do think I probably could have added a little width. It's easy to add width. It only comes in one size, but it's easy to add width by just extending this pattern. But I'm gonna see how it goes and I'll block it out. And worst case scenario, if it really doesn't fit him, he can use it as like a little blanket or pillow because he just likes cuddling up to knitwear. I don't know if it's because I've been touching it or if it's because it smells like sheep or what, but he just like, if there's knitwear around, he will lie on it. So I'm really excited. Been knitting sweaters for Chris, Darwin, and for the baby, and really enjoying it. There's something that is just pleasing me so much about making a really special Fair Isle sweater for my dog. I also love my dog so much. I got him 7.5 years ago when I was doing chemo and I was 25 and sad and lonely. And he's just been such a great friend to me. And we're working on some training with him to get him ready for the baby, and he's doing such a good job. He's mixed breed because he's a rescue, but he's part border collie and he's really smart, and part mini poodle. I think that helps. He's just like, he's the love of my life. And so to make him a really special piece of knitwear, it feels a little bit extra, but I also am just kind of obsessed. And I think these colors really pop and look really nice. And I've had such a blast knitting this. We've been watching 6 Feet Under. It's so good. And I've just been kind of knitting away. And I love knitting color work. I love having one strand in each hand and just going. Inga from Knitting Traditions, her way of remembering color dominance, which is that you keep the dominant color in your left hand since it's close to your heart, is like my favorite. And yeah, Darwin and I have just been like hanging out, and I keep telling him it's for him. I don't know if he knows what I'm talking about. I also don't think the colors matter because I know that dogs have less color vision than humans, but I think that this is gonna be a really lovely project. So this is my complicated project for watching things that are in English or watching YouTube videos, and it has just flown. It's also not that big, but I definitely want to finish this before casting on something else that will take a lot more attention, but I'm almost there. I feel pretty confident I can finish this before baby comes unless I hit a big snag. So yeah, I'll let you know about the steeking. Oh, the steeking. I think I'm gonna do a crochet reinforcement steek. So I've never steeked before, and they have links to some tutorials in the Shetland Wool Week, and they have Kate Davies' steek tutorial, which looked pretty straightforward. And I thought about sewing it for a reinforcement because I do have a machine, which I just got fixed up so that I can make a quilt for the baby, which is a whole other thing. But I think I want to try crochet because it just feels like a nice skill to have. I don't crochet very much. I've done it, but like I've never done a crochet project, but I can follow directions. So I think that will be the plan. And I've been like, some of the ends I had to like tie together to kind of get them out of the way, but I'm gonna weave the ends in. Weaving a ton of ends in for me can be like relaxing and meditative. Crochet, reinforce, and then steek and pray to the knitting gods that all goes well. So that will be exciting because that's a new skill for me. And a lot of the sweaters that I want to make are steeked. So, or I'm gonna modify them to be steeked. I have yarn for a Marie Wallen sweater and I'm not knitting it flat. If I knit it, I'm gonna steek it unless I make it into a pullover. So this will be a good practice piece, and I know that it will look good. I mean, it's for Darwin. It's also like for me, so I can put it on him. I think it'll be cute. We've got a lot of navy happening right now. He can like match Chris a little bit too, but he'll have the fanciest sweater in the family. Yeah, so that's my other whip. So that is the knitting that I have been doing. I have been desperately wanting to cast on something new, but I'm really trying to make myself finish these 2 pieces, or at least one, before casting something on. I want to cast on that Jemima jumper. I have some Nutidin that I want to make a shawl with. I don't know why, but I'm craving making a shawl with this knitted in, which might be my next cast on. I have more whips to finish, but there's none that I'm feeling like a burning need to finish. But so that's kind of where I'm at with knitting, and I'm also trying not to cast on more knitting because I've got other projects too. So I wanted to share a spinning project. I haven't been spinning very much this year, especially because I've had a really bad back injury. I've mentioned it in some previous podcasts, but like while being pregnant, I'm pretty sure I herniated a disc, but I couldn't get an MRI because there's not a lot of risk to the baby, but they didn't want to risk it. And so I was like kind of bedbound for a while. And my herniated disc has, I think, healed, but I'm having some back pain just due to being pregnant now, but I really can't use a traditional wheel, which is a shame because I love my wheel. But my mom asked me if I wanted anything for Hanukkah. I'm Jewish and that's what my family celebrates. And I did really want some new fiber to spin because I have gorgeous, oh my gosh, my friend Hannah gave me some fiber. I have some gorgeous fiber, but not, I wanted to dye that and I might want to do some natural dyeing, so I'm sort of waiting on that. That fiber is really special, but I sent my mom a couple companies and said, just pick something for me. And she ordered me some fiber from Nest Fiber Studio. She ordered me 2 braids of this color, which is called Mischiefs Done on Moonbeam Rise. I don't know if they're selling it, but it's really fun. And I have separated it into 3 balls to do a fractal spin, and I have spun the first of 3. So these are 2 braids combined, but one was just a third. One I think I split in each third into 2, and then one I think I split each third into 4. So it'll be a fractal spin, and I have spun the first one, which looks like this. So this is the one that has the longest color repeats. And I am really untrained in spinning. I just sort of do it for fun. And I've been using my electric eel wheel, which is a really inexpensive e-spinner that it was like my introduction to spinning. I've had to fix it a couple times. Like it occasionally requires a little bit of mechanical knowledge because it is like an open source electronic spinner, which is so cool. And the person who made it is working on a similar machine for drum carting. But I gotta say, I've had this for like 3 years. This e-spinner does not fail me. It was, I think, less than $200. And for a lot of electronic spinners, they can be a lot more expensive. And I do prefer to spin on a wheel. You have a lot more control. But given that right now that's not a possibility for me, I'm just so glad to have this option. So I'm spinning kind of, I would say, semi-fixed singles because I want to make a really like bouncy, soft 3-ply. I don't know what I'm gonna knit with it yet though. It could be a contrast color for a sweater. It could be good for an accessory, or it might be really great for a sweater for my son once he's born. I actually finished another piece that I don't have and that I don't have photos of. I finished my hand spun baby surprise jacket, and my friends were over with their 1.5-year-old, and I was like, I think it would fit their child so perfectly, and it did, so I just gave it to them. And he looks so cute in it, but I don't have photos, and I wouldn't share photos of someone else's child. So I do have another finished object, I guess, but it's off in the world. But I think babies and hand spun are just really cute. So it's nice to be getting back into spinning. It's so relaxing. I can do it while I'm lying down on the e-spinner. It also is encouraging me to finish a sweater spin that I started like more than a year ago. So I think once this is done, that will be my next spinning project. And I have a good amount of hand spun in my stash. A lot of it is in colors that I don't like, most of which I dyed myself and didn't think through very carefully. And I might give that away at some point since I'm not gonna use it. But I like when I have other people's, I think I just need to stop dyeing wool because I never like what I make. But I do have these like 2 gorgeous skeins of hand spun that I want to use to make socks. They were also from my friend, the fiber was from my friend Hannah, and it was like a wedding present. Hannah's the best because she got me like all of this breastfeeding stuff and fiber. Hannah's a real gem. I have really lovely friends. I'm very lucky. And I really want to make socks out of those. Like I want to use more of my hand spun, but it's always like a matter of finding the right project. And, you know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's some that I want to leave undyed and so that I could do like a really natural shawl. I love undyed yarn too, but the color changing is just so fun. So thank you, Mom, if you're watching this, for getting me such lovely fiber for Hanukkah. This has been a very fun project. I am looking forward to spinning the rest. This is the type of project that is perfect after a long day of work. I don't know, when I just like really want to zone out, I can just be like, oh yes, just draft that yarn. So I have one more project to share, which is that I have started a cross stitch. And my mom taught me how to cross stitch when I was really young, and I love it. I like never finish cross stitch projects, and I haven't done really almost any as an adult. On my first date with Chris, actually, when Chris was living in a city in Massachusetts, we walked to a Walmart, like kind of during a snowstorm, and I was like, we should both get cross stitch kits, and we did, and I taught Chris how to cross stitch, and I think Chris liked me. I don't think that Chris wanted to, well, I don't know, maybe Chris wanted to cross stitch, but like it was very sweet that like the first time we were hanging out, Chris was willing to like engage in my hobbies, and it just like is a very fond memory for me. But I like cross stitching a lot, but I haven't done it very much because I'm always doing other things. I really wanted to do an owl forest cross stitch, so I finally got a kit for this, and my intention to finish this, because it's like a little woodland swamp with like a Baba Yaga house in the middle, is that when I finish this, I want it to be framed and go into my son's room, since the room is like woodland themed. But I am probably not going to finish this until like his 1st or 2nd birthday, because I'm going pretty slow. But I've been having so much fun doing it, and I want to show you what I've done, but I'm going to take the hoop off. So this kit is really cool because all of the threads are over dyed, so they're color changing, and there's instructions for using color changing thread so that it looks beautiful, which I find really helpful. And I mean, I just love, there's a lot of things about this kit that I think are really thoughtful. One is that they give you 2 versions of the pattern, one that you can kind of chop up, which is really nice when you're like trying to, hopefully I'm not showing too much of this, but this is just one piece, but it's really nice when you're trying to just work on a little bit at a time, since it's quite large. The over dyed threads are beautiful, and there's a needle minder, and you know, I would consider myself beginner at cross stitch, and this is on linen, so it's 2/2, but there's very clear instructions, and I've just, sorry, it's very crumpled right now, but just from the hoop, I've just been having so much fun stitching on this. That said, I bent my needle. And I bent my needle on December 8th, and I know it was December 8th because I saw something that day about how in parts of Japan, December 8th is like a celebration of broken needles. And I Googled it, and that's a real thing, and I was like, oh, fitting day to bend my needle. And I've ordered some other ones, but not the same one that came in the kit, and I just don't like the other ones as much. So I might have to order a special type of needle from the UK. Just because I was finding it really enjoyable with this one needle. But yeah, the color changing yarn is really beautiful, or thread is really beautiful. The instructions are really clear. I'm definitely trying to be careful counting, because I've never done a cross stitch that's this complex, because I did it when I was a kid. And since it's linen, you're stitching 2 over 2, so you have to, it makes it a little bit more thinky than knitting, excuse me, in Ida, which would be like 1 over 1. But I love the fabric and I love how it's turning out, and I really want to finish it. I've also been working on this while we watch 6 Feet Under. We're on season 3. It's such a good show. It's on Netflix right now, if you get Netflix, but in the United States. Yeah, I'm really, there's been a learning curve. So, you know, again, I would consider myself pretty amateur, but I just think it's a really well put together kit. And it's so cute. And I really want to finish it, but I'm not rushing on this. I'm just enjoying it. And I don't think I will start another cross stitch, because this is like meeting all of my cross stitch needs. So this would be like a 1 project thing. I mean, when this is done, maybe I'll start another, but I don't need to work on more than 1 cross stitch at a time. And I just wanted to share it with you, and I will probably keep sharing it when I have significant progress. So yeah, I think when it's done, oh, you can see, if you look at the back, you can see where I started. It's such a mess, and it's like been getting tidier and tidier as I stitch more, because I'm learning things and I'm getting better. So it's fun to be like working on kind of a new skill. It meets a similar need to like the color work, which is looking at a chart, remembering it, transferring it. Yeah, so I don't think I have anything else to say about it. I used to do a lot more embroidery, like without a pattern, but I haven't done as much of that either recently. There's so much that I want to do. I have a lot of fabric cut out for a quilt right now, and I think tomorrow I'm gonna start doing some quilting, and I'll share that. I have never finished a quilt top, but again, it's for my son, so I'm hoping to finish the top, like maybe, it's small, so like maybe this week while I'm off of work, and try to take it to a long arm in Vermont so that I could get it back not too long after he's born. But you know, if that doesn't work out, it's okay. I'm just, I have a lot of crafting energy. I don't know what it is. It's like keeping my hands busy has just felt so good. And we've been playing a lot of video games too. We've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, which is such a fun game. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons video game. And, you know, walking and going into town. But I can't downhill ski this year. I think some people can cross-country ski when they're pregnant. I fall a lot when I cross-country ski. I'm better at downhill skiing. And so not cross-country skiing. I am not ice skating. I am really just like inside a lot. Sometimes I'm out with the dog, but like, oh my gosh, we heard a million coyotes the other night and they were howling, and I was like, ugh, I have to be careful letting Darwin off leash. Although I think they may have moved. I think they may have just been moving through the area. We have bears, but those are hibernating. But coyotes, I mean, I love them. I think they're an amazing and cool animal, but they kind of freak me out because they are known to use pack tactics against dogs. And Darwin's like 35 pounds and he's pretty feisty and also a coward. So I don't really think he would scrap with them, but I'm trying to be extra careful. So I haven't been out very much, and I think I'm in this place where I'm kind of just like waiting for baby. And so I've just been making a lot of stuff. I'm glad that I get to share it with you. I have no idea how long this episode has been, but if you've watched this far, thank you so much for watching. I would love to know favorite sock patterns that you use, since I'm experimenting with new things. I would love to know about the end of your year. I am trying to be more thoughtful about liking comments just so that everyone knows that I've read them. I used to try to respond to every single one, but then sometimes I just wouldn't respond to any. I read every single comment that you leave, and I try to respond to as many as I can, but sometimes I just get overwhelmed. And then I respond to none, which doesn't help anybody. But thank you always for commenting, and thank you for watching. I hope to at least make one more episode next month before baby comes. And then who knows what my life will be like. So many knitting podcasters I think are either pregnant or have had babies recently, which is really funny and sweet. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope to join you soon with tons more stuff to show. And I hope that you have a wonderful holiday if you're celebrating Christmas, and a wonderful and gentle turn into the new year. Yeah. So take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.